Some of the parts in the Tesla story is just starting to be discovered. I think supercharger was really where the light bulb went off in terms of Ford and GM now really, going to Tesla, where this is sort of what I view as a game set match situation. And next is going to be batteries and then AI, which is why I believe this is a company that's still in the early innings of finding its potential. I think next week's another trophy case quarter in terms of for Musk and Tesla. And in my opinion, the bears will continue going into hibernation mode as Musk and Tesla flex their muscles with the next phases right now of the growth story playing out.
So to choose Tesla as the leader when they're really the Blackberry of EVs, I think is a mistake.
In this video, just days before Tesla reports their Q2 2023 earnings and all short-term, short-sighted investors are focused on just one thing, gross automotive margins this quarter. Just everybody ignore the autonomy and the robotaxis about to awaken. Just forget about that. It doesn't matter. This quarter is the only thing that matters. Mr. Green Tidal Wave and the class clown himself have a discussion about Tesla on CNBC. By the way, if you'd like more content, check the links in the pinned comment. Over 300 exclusive videos available on Patreon, over 30 available to my Twitter subscribers, and both still counting fast.
So joining me now is Wedbush Securities Managing Director Dan Ives, covers all things tech, a longtime bull on Tesla. Also GLJ Research founder and CEO Gordon Johnson, longtime bear on Tesla.
When he says Gordon Johnson is a long-term Tesla bear / clown, he ain't kidding. Let's rewind the clock. Literally a decade, an entire decade, 10 years ago, to see what Gordon Johnson was saying about Tesla and Tesla stock back then.
Gordon Johnson, in your view, where should be valued at right now?
I think Tesla's a $50 stock.
Split adjusted, that equates to $3.33 per share. In case anyone wants to keep score at home, Tesla stock's up about 85 times, not percent, times this brilliant call a decade ago. For example, if you had invested about $12,000 in this $3.33 per share split adjusted stock, according to Gordon, today you'd have over $1 million.
Essentially, people are valuing this car, again, based on a Gen 3 model for which there is no prototype.
A Gen 3 model. Oh, you mean the Model 3/Y. Not only did a prototype appear and then production commence, but here's a quick update almost a decade later. Tesla Model Y overtakes the Toyota Corolla to be the world's best-selling car so far in 2023.
Tesla's cars cost about $80,000 to $90,000 right now.
Well, not anymore they don't. Model 3 available as I record this in the United States before incentives and discounts for $40,240, not including inflation, which actually makes a big difference. More on that in just a moment. A decade later, you can buy a great, compelling, brand new Tesla vehicle for about half the price Gordon Johnson was previously referencing. It's almost as if when Tesla told us their plan was to drive the cost of compelling electric vehicles down so more people could afford them, that was actually their plan, which they have now executed on. And guess what? There's still room to go. Remember the half-price compelling electric vehicle platform Tesla unveiled earlier this year? If I record an update to this video in about a decade, what do you think an entry-level Tesla is going to cost then? A hell of a lot less. And now, let's talk inflation. You guys remember when your grandparents bought a house for $3.12 and now it's worth $12 trillion? That's called inflation. In 2013, when this segment was recorded, the buying power of $1 was a lot more than it is today. Adjusted for inflation over the decade, $1 in 2013 had the buying power of 76 cents in 2023. So in order to normalize and adjust Tesla's current prices for inflation, we must multiply by 0.76. Inflation adjusted, today's entry-level Model 3 in 2013 dollars costs $30,582. Just over one-third the cost to purchase a Tesla on average a decade ago. And again, I wonder what this might look like if I'm recording this video 10 years from now.
They're using essentially laptop batteries. They're packaging Panasonic laptop batteries into these car batteries, which are effectively the bulk of the cost. How are they, those batteries have been scaled up. How are they going to get more cost out of that? I don't know.
Well, Gordon, just because you didn't know or claim not to know, doesn't mean Tesla wasn't actually able to do that, because as we've just seen, an entry-level Tesla now, compared to 2013, has gone from $80,000 to about $30,000, inflation adjusted. Now, the reason I've shown you guys and girls this clip, before we get into Gordon's current comments, is just to point out he is a long-term Tesla bear who has made some outrageously stupid calls in the past that have not aged well. So it's worth considering whether or not we should take any current comments this guy has to say about Tesla with a Mount Everest-sized grain of salt. After all, credibility must be earned. On Tesla, Gordon, historically has none.
I think the stock is grossly overvalued. I think the correction is not anywhere near done, and I'm selling the stock.
Well, I'm sure all three of Gordon Johnson's clients back in 2013 would be very happy if they followed his advice and sold Tesla stock. Back to the present moment. I'm sure Gordon Johnson has some very compelling insights, a lot of advice for investors that couldn't possibly go wrong, so let's see what the class clown has to say a decade later.
Two very familiar faces for CNBC here. Thank you both for joining Last Call. Let's start with the bull case, because the bull case has been right, Dan, so far, and you've been behind this kind of thing for a good while now. The Tesla valuation, it doesn't worry you at these levels?
I mean, not at all, because I think what Kathy is talking about is our thesis that the sum of the parts in the Tesla story is just starting to be discovered. I think Supercharger was really where the light bulb went off in terms of Ford and GM now really, going to Tesla, where this is sort of what I view as a game, set, match situation. And next is going to be batteries and then AI, which is why I believe this is a company that's still in the early innings of finding its potential. I think next week's another trophy case quarter in terms of for Musk and Tesla. And in my opinion, the bears will continue to go into hibernation mode as Musk and Tesla flex their muscles with the next phases right now of the growth story playing out.
Gordon, you're the bear. and
Now, it strikes me as rather interesting that Gordon Johnson laughs uncontrollably when described as a Tesla bear. If I didn't know any better, keeping in mind that I do know better, plus I'm no psychologist, which is why I'm not able to easily diagnose people shorting Tesla stock and calling Elon Musk as fraud as suffering from mental illness, depression, and also very clearly being at the absolute bottom of the social and dominance hierarchy, as in very low status men. Back to Gordon. Why is it that somebody would laugh like that when described as the bear? Is it possible that this laughter is in recognition of the fact that he's playing the character so well that he's now being described as the very character he is playing? Is he perhaps proud of his skilled acting? Of course not. Why would I even say that? He very much believes what he's saying about Tesla. Let's move on.
Gordon, you're the bear. and let me just say this, all right? And this is with all due respect, because you're a very smart man. You do your research, you do your homework. There are valuation models out there that totally agree with what you're saying with regard to Tesla and why it should not be trading where it is. But the market has been disagreeing with you. What is it going to take for the market to realize that you are correct in saying that Tesla is overvalued at this point?
Right. So, Dom, thanks for having me. I'll just remind you that in January and February of 2000, internet companies in both of those months doubled. And then they fell anywhere from 90% to 100%. So the market can get disassociated with reality. With respect to what Dan said, I feel like he's speaking in vagaries and platitudes. Let me explain. So with Tesla in 2Q, right, you have a company that, according to car gurus, over the past year has cut their prices 35% for their cars. Their prices have been cut 35%, whereas Ford's prices are down 1%. GM's prices are actually up 1%, and the average car on car gurus is down 4%. So if you cut your prices significantly, you're going to get higher volumes. However, in Q1, their earnings were down both quarter over quarter and year over year. That's not a growth company.
I mean, he's got a point. As we can see on screen now, Tesla's cumulative vehicle production since inception clearly doesn't demonstrate exponential growth. And I don't know why James Stevenson would label this chart exponential growth, showing Tesla's trailing 12-month global deliveries from 2013, back when Gordon was saying it was a $3.33 stock, until today. Why would you label this exponential growth, James? Are you trying to deceive people? And this chart is clearly fake news and not based on reality, because it seems to indicate that Tesla's quarterly revenue is also growing exponentially. As we can see, the latest quarter, Q1 alone in 2023, more than Tesla, the entire company, did in revenue in 2018, almost as much as they did in 2019. Q1 this year, in fact, over the first half of 2021. More proof that Tesla's not a growth company. And again, I mean, a chart's worth 1,000 words. Gordon should just show charts to make his point instead of speaking, because clearly this chart also shows Tesla's non-GAAP EPS is collapsing, not growing. Good point, Gordon. I'll have to concede on that one. Very hard to argue.
For the fifth straight quarter in a row, they've produced more cars than they've sold.
Now look, I'll admit, if I still lived in my mum's basement and I had crippling depression and an inferiority complex and an extremely negative, pessimistic worldview and suffered from severe mental illness, rather than trying to understand what Gordon Johnson means when he says Tesla produced more cars than they delivered for 5 quarters in a row, I would just assume that it's more proof that Elon Musk is a fraud and Tesla's going bankrupt, and I'd just double down on my short position. However, I don't live in my mum's basement. I'm not suffering from crippling depression or severe mental illness, and I like to actually ask questions and think before I emote and vaporize my money. Now, if we're to think about this for a moment, what exactly did Gordon just say? He claims that Tesla produced more vehicles this quarter than they sold, and the same thing occurred in the previous 4 quarters. That makes 5 quarters in a row that Tesla produced more vehicles than they sold. Given the fact that this company is currently ramping up production in 2 new factories, they're not at a steady state. They're actually making more vehicles every quarter. Well, there's a clue. They're making more vehicles every quarter. If all things remain steady, would it not then follow that every quarter they produce more vehicles, they will sell less vehicles than they produced because they're producing more vehicles and it takes time to actually ship a vehicle to a consumer after they've purchased? You make it and it takes time to get to the customer. It would actually logically follow. This statement is a non sequitur. It doesn't make any sense. He will be able to regurgitate this exact same argument all decade as Tesla scales up their production more and more. New factories ramping up every quarter. They'll produce more vehicles than they did the last quarter. This is not a logical statement. It's nonsensical. But again, if you've already decided Tesla's going bankrupt, Elon's a fraud, you hear something like this, you don't think about it, and you double down on your short position. All but guaranteeing you will continue to live in your mum's basement for years to come.
I.e., they have a demand problem. And you're talking about a company now that's going to see its gross margins drop from roughly 27% in Q2 of last year to roughly 16% in Q2 of this year. It's a car company.
Well, I'm convinced Tesla's a car company because Gordon Johnson said so. No point investigating these claims, trying to determine if Tesla has any capabilities, say in the domain of software, artificial intelligence, whether or not they would employ material scientists, whether or not they've deployed technology in the real world that indicates that they're not just a car company. I will just take him at his word. This guy looks trustworthy because he's wearing a suit. Should believe everything he says.
What car companies do is they cut prices to move metal. Tesla's doing it by the most. And remember, Warren Buffett reminded us, in 1905, if you looked at the car industry, right, there were 2,000 auto companies. Nearly every single one went bankrupt. So to choose Tesla as the leader when they're really the Blackberry of EVs, I think is a mistake.
I'm sure Gordon Johnson was very proud of himself when he came up with this one. Tesla, just a car company, are the Blackberry of EVs. In other words, they're doomed. They're going to be disrupted. They're not the disruptor. They are going to be disrupted. It's not that the internal combustion engine vehicle is the Blackberry of vehicles being disrupted by EVs, and Tesla is a market leader here. No. Tesla, who are disrupting an entire industry with better technology, are in fact going to be disrupted by the better technology. Right.
Okay, all right. So because I'm watching, I can see, I have the benefit of seeing both of you guys in front of me right now. Dan, you've been shaking your head pretty much the entire time Gordon's been talking. Why? He does make some interesting points here. Tesla is cutting prices, and they are producing more cars and not selling as many as they are producing. What's wrong with the argument there?
No, Gordon makes great points in terms of course, the price cuts, and that's well understood. I mean, my whole point is look at deliveries this quarter. This is a company right now that's going to be on a trajectory toward 2 million deliveries for the year. And you should look at margins. It's going to trough out over the next 1-2 quarters. Battery costs are continuing to come down, and I believe it continues to be Tesla's world. Everyone else is paying rent. The margin story, the cash flow story. And look, me and Gordon are always going to disagree here, but I think the market's telling you right now that this is an inflecting growth story because of the sum of the parts. And that's why I believe supercharger, I know that Gordon disagrees. I think batteries next and AI. I think that's why eventually we're going to be looking at $1.5 trillion to $2 trillion company over the next 2 to 3 years.
What are the margins on the supercharger? Do you know what the margins are? They don't make any money on that. Why are you saying that's something to be excited about? You know that they make no money on that. So why are you on TV saying that that's a positive when you know it's a negative? They were forced to open up their superchargers to get the tax credits as a result of the Biden. Biden said you can't get the 7.5 unless you open up your superchargers. That's a negative, not a positive.
But Gordon, to that point, when you go out, the reason GM, the reason Ford, the reason everyone's going to Tesla, they built it, everyone's calling. And now ultimately they will be able to monetize that when you look at them 25, 26, 27.
But they get a free supercharging network without, if you buy a Tesla car, you're going to have to wait in line behind a bunch of GM, Ford, every other automaker. This is not a positive. It's a negative. So I don't know why you're pushing this as a positive. One other thing, Dan, like this is a company valued at more than the next 10 largest automakers combined, who is seeing earnings drop in Q1. They're already having to significantly slash prices, and they're not even selling what they're currently producing. And he's talking about building more factories. I mean, you have to know, this makes absolutely no sense.
I got to give this guy credit. I mean, the audacity. Nothing he's ever said about Tesla makes any sense. And here he is saying this.
And I know the stock price is high, and I know you're excited about that, but stock price doesn't necessarily equal reality, and their margins are collapsing. Their sales are going to suffer because of these price cuts. And already in 2Q, they've cut prices in China, Australia, and Japan, soon to come US. So they're still having to cut prices when their competitors aren't cutting prices like they are. So supply, demand, price, they're cutting prices. That means demand is less than supply. Why is this something you're so excited about? I just don't get it.
All right, Dan, we could go on forever. I mean, this is a huge debate. I'm going to give the last word to you, Dan, because in my internal clock, I want you to respond to the litany of things that Gordon has just put out there. So the last word goes to you here, Dan, on why Gordon is wrong about the Tesla valuation.
As well as the bears, because and the reason they have been is because they view this as an auto company, and I view it as a disruptive technology company that ultimately, year by year, continues to further monetize from EVs to batteries, and I think eventually to AI. And I think Wednesday night, I think we sit here and ultimately the bulls win again. And I think this debate will continue to go on. Gordon raises great points, but ultimately, I believe the bears, are wrong here in terms of how we view it.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. It is very hard to take Dan Ives seriously when he says stuff like, Gordon makes some good points. Interestingly, Dan Ives is now mentioning AI in the same breath as Tesla. This is a new development, at least as far as I can recall. He's right. Tesla themselves have been discussing real-world AI for years, half a decade or more. But I don't think it was until the ChatGPT moment when the world suddenly realized the capabilities of AI to come out of absolutely nowhere. We've seen incredible progress with image generation via stable diffusion, from bad acid trip to world-class art and real-life imagery. We've now seen language-based AI have an absolute explosion in abilities. Now suddenly people are excited about AI. I still don't think the penny's widely dropped regarding Tesla and their autonomous software, but at least it's a start. The narrative is starting to at least expand to maybe, possibly, include a little bit of AI when it comes to Tesla. It's a start. Athletic Greens AG1 has given me a massive, meaningful boost in energy, allowing me to do a lot more every day, including using my brain more and using my body more. I highly recommend you guys and girls check it out. Athletic Greens AG1 is an excellent way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's got 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus prebiotics and probiotics and digestive enzymes and adaptogens to help you deal with stress. Plus, if you click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR, you can get yourself a 1-year free supply of vitamin D3 and K2. But don't take my word for it. Here's what some of you guys and girls have to say. AG1 has changed my life. I was, as you described, treating myself like a circus, ate like trash, rarely exercised, used alcohol as a stress crutch, cannabis also. AG1 is what gave me the kick in the ass, got me back to the gym, motivated me to do more for myself, family, my business, etc. Keep doing what you do. Now, I know there's some skeptics, the same kind of people who think Elon Musk is a fraud, reading this going, what do you thought? There's no way that's possible, bro. It must be a placebo effect. Believe it or not, this is a recurring theme. If you give your body everything it needs to feel and perform its best, including having a lot more energy, you'll need ways to use that energy. For me personally, that includes more exercise, moving my body more social activity, and more cognitively demanding tasks, including producing a ton of exclusive content over on Twitter and on Patreon, plus my daily YouTube uploads. The proof's in the pudding. On to another testimonial from a viewer of this channel. SMR, you asked me to provide feedback on AG1. Here it is. It has helped with mental acuity, stamina, and intestinal waste management. Can't read between the lines. It certainly helps with regularity and digestion. That's what the digestive enzymes are for. It has also dramatically reduced my cravings for sugar. You guys need to stop eating sugar. It's fucking poison. I'm 50, 5'9", and overweight, aka a fat motherfucker. I think that's a technical term for overweight, isn't it? Is it fat motherfucker or obese? I can't remember. I average 100 hours a week in the West Texas oil fields as a safety supervisor. Jesus Christ, dude. No wonder you're struggling to keep your weight under control. 100 hours a week. Brutal. It has helped me lose weight. It is not an appetite suppressant. It can help fat people suppress cravings, and motivation to be healthier is critical for changing your diet. Love you, brother. Again, this is a great point and something people really don't seem to grasp. If you have more energy everything becomes easier. It's like turning on easy mode for life. A few years ago, before I was taking AG1, my health was trash. I was struggling to get through the day, had afternoon fatigue. The last thing I wanted to do was either use my brain or move my body. Didn't have the energy. Now, my biggest struggle every day is figuring out ways to use that energy. I'm exercising way more, doing a lot more with my friends and family, and of course, my work output has increased substantially. And you can fact check me. Check out the average length of my videos I was posting to YouTube 3 years ago. Need I say more? And one final testimonial. Love this one. Okay, here's the deal for me with this AG1 shit. I'm 41 years old and not the type to eat, drink, smoke, or sleep healthy, so I was skeptical. That being said, here's what I experienced. Day 1, meh. Day 2, afternoon fatigue was about 45 minutes late. Day 3, 0 afternoon fatigue. Day 4, 0 afternoon fatigue plus extra energy. Day 5, again, 0 afternoon fatigue plus energy. Wondering, what the fuck, really? See, this is the thing, right? The results for many people are just almost too good to be true. This is the same experience I had. My afternoon fatigue just vanished out of nowhere. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Why am I not tired in the afternoons anymore? Surely, it's not that AG1, is it? Turns out it was. Day 6 and 7, same thing. Day 8, same thing. Plus, I had the want to get things done around the house that I normally would slack off and not get done. Again, the point, extra energy, you'll need to use it, you'll find ways to use it. Day 9, 10, and 11, and today is day 12. I fucking love it. So however you managed to get me to buy it, I'm so glad you did. Thank you so much, SMR. It really changed me so far. Guys, this shit really works. Just try it. By the way, this is the reason I continue to relentlessly promote AG1. A lot of people get real fucking mad in the comments. Oh my God, Snake Oil Salmon's sold out. Oh my God, he's a scammer. This is fraud. But constantly, I'm pretty sure everyone making these comments is also currently short Tesla stock. I'm not particularly concerned about people having a negative perception, those folks suffering from small brain syndrome, still living in my bum's basement syndrome, etc., writing mean comments, claiming AG1's a scam or it doesn't work. I mean, bro, when I get feedback like this is what keeps me going. And remember, there is a 90-day money-back guarantee. There's nothing to lose here. Just try this stuff for a month, and if you don't get these results, get your money back. See, it's a literal no-brainer. It's an IQ test at this point in time. Testimonial after testimonial after testimonial like this. Get your money back if it doesn't work. Just try it for a month, and if it doesn't work, get your money back. Today's the day. It's finally time. Be like this guy who was a massive skeptic, but finally, after 1,000 promotions in a row, caved in, tried AG1, and has results like this. Head to drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link at the pinned comment, and please, let me know how you're feeling in a few weeks' time. Now, if you'll excuse me, time to put my extra energy to good use. I'll be recording some more exclusive content for Patreon and my Twitter subscribers. So click the links in the pinned comment. See you over on Twitter and or Patreon. And don't forget to grab your AG1. Love ya.